You're 16, kneeling on cracked concrete, draining a Briggs and Stratton float bowl into a coffee can. 2 decades later, you sign a 200-unit Cummins X15 order on the floor of the Mid-America Trucking Show, and the operating supplies line you control reads $636.5 million. Between those two moments sits a trade where 65.5% of shops can't keep their bays staffed, and 61.8% of the techs walking in arrive with no formal training. The plug you gapped at 16 and the budget you sign at 50 are the same job. One reads a symptom. One isolates a cause. One replaces a part. This is every level of a heavy-duty diesel mechanic in America, and what it actually costs to climb. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The Backyard Tinkerer. You're 16. In Grandpa Earl's barn outside Lancaster, Pennsylvania, the mower won't start. Earl hands you a Champion arranged by J19 Elm plug, $4.59 at Walmart, and a feeler gauge, 30 thou gap. You set it by feel the way he showed you, and the gauge slides through with a clean drag. The float bowl drains stale gas the color of weak tea into the coffee can. You spray Berryman B12 down the carb throat and wipe the jet with a rag. The cord pulls hard the first time. The second pull catches. The third pull, the Briggs 550 EX coughs, settles, and idles. Earl nods once and doesn't say anything. You start collecting work without meaning to. A neighbor's Honda Decisiv 160 with a gummed jet. A YZ80 dirt bike running 50-to-1 premix that fouls plugs every weekend. Your cousin's Tecumseh HM80 snowblower. You buy a Pittsburgh 301 piece set at Harbor Freight on a coupon, $169.99, and you stop borrowing Earl's. Your hands smell like two-stroke for a week at a time. You don't mind. The Tractor Supply parking lot in Wytheville becomes a regular stop for stale gas jugs and zip ties. You start saving the receipts. By 17, you've rebuilt a Predator 212 for a go-kart frame, and the cart runs. By 18, you've filled out the application for UTI Avondale, and the tuition statement reads $58,480 over 45 weeks. The shade tree work is over. The trade is about to start charging you to learn it. Level 2. The Lube Tech. You're 19, at a Penske terminal in Reading, Pennsylvania, on the lube rack. The pay stub reads Tech I, 80 hours, $19.50 an hour. The Cascadia rolls into the bay at 5 a.m. with the DD15 still ticking. You drain 11 gallons of Shell Rotella T415W40 into a catch barrel and watch the dipstick climb back to full. You spin a Fleetguard LF9070 green and white filter on hand tight, then 3/4 of a turn with the wrench. The trainer next to you says no further. You stop there. The DOT pre-trip is 11 points per 49 CEF, arranged by 396.11. You chalk the brake push rods, fan the brakes from a charged 125 psi, and measure stroke. Type 30 long stroke maxes at 2.5 inches. The third axle measures 2.6. You write it up on the DVI arranged by, and the truck goes out of service before it goes anywhere else. The shop foreman doesn't argue with the number. He signs the form. You learn the 9-pin Deutsch connector by feel. You learn that Insight Lite on a Panasonic Toughbook is the cheapest software license in the building, and it still does most of what you need. You learn the Milton S921 reads 110 on the steers and 100 on the drives, and that the difference between a good day and a write-up is whether you notice the slow leak before the dispatcher did. The first paycheck clears, and the trainer learns your name. By the second month, you don't need anyone watching when you spin the LF9070. You stop counting the hours. You pass the ISEET8 on the first try and pin the wallet card to your locker. The next test on the wall is T2. The lube rack is the floor. Every level above it starts with a scan tool you don't own yet. Level 3. The Journeyman. You're 24. On the floor at a Vanderhaeg's Freightliner shop in Sioux Falls. Your wage is $32 an hour, and the BLS median for the trade pegs the year at $60,640. The shop foreman drops a Decisiv ticket on your bench and walks off. Cascadia DD15, regen demand, D-rate pending. You hook up the Toughbook and pull SP and 3251, DPF differential pressure, fault code 1922. You stage a parked regen through DDDL 8X. The DOC inlet temperature climbs past 1000 degrees on the live data window, and the truck shudders against the chocks. The differential pressure drops. The code clears. You write it up and move on. Base 6 is a different problem. ISX15 in frame, head off, 6 liners pulled, and a CDI 2503 MFRPH torque wrench laid out on a clean shop towel. The spec sheet next to it reads 50 Newton meters, 250 Newton meters, plus 90 degrees. You set the Apex ITC 24mm socket on the first head bolt. The wrench clicks at 50. You go around again at 250. You set the protractor at top dead and pull each bolt 90 degrees by feel. Bolt 14 hangs. You stop. You back it off. Chase the threads with a tap. Blow the chips out with the air gun, and start the bolt over. The second pass torques clean. If you'd kept pulling, the head would have cracked, and the in-frame would have become an out-of-frame, and the labor guide on it doubles. The foreman walks past and doesn't say anything, which is how you know you got it right. By the end of the shift, you've signed off on an Eaton 15.5-inch Advantage clutch swap on a 13-speed Fuller, run a forced regen on a second DD15, and pulled an injector on a Cat C15 Acert. The valve cover stamped MBN for the bridge motor. Your Snap-on K, arranged by L1023 roll cab, $5,600 on the dealer's truck, is starting to fill from the top drawer down. The Fluke 87 volts sits in the third tray, $471.60 from Home Depot, the only meter the foreman lets near a 12-volt bus. You stop saving the small receipts. The ISEE Master Med Heavy Truck Card, T2 through T8, all 7, pins next to the T8 from level 2. The shop foreman drops a second ticket on the bench. Field service crew is short. They need a body in Gillette, Wyoming by Tuesday. The truck pulls out of the lot at 4 a.m. with you riding shotgun. Level 4. The Field Service Tech. You're 31 on a coal hull road outside Gillette at 5 degrees Fahrenheit, working under the halogen flood off the Bobcat 250. The rig is a Peterbilt 348 with a stellar TMAX 2-14 body and a 12,000-pound, 12,630 crane on the back. Total build cost ran past $200,000. The Cat 793F sits dead, 2 a.m., a blown injector cup on the C15 Acert. You set the Cat 9U6891 cup tool, pull the old cup, drive the new one with the Norbar multiplier, and the procedure reads exactly the way the QSOL bulletin walked it. Clean the bore, verify protrusion, torque to spec, prime the rail. You key on the X15 across the yard for 30 seconds at a time, watching INSITE drive the lift pump until rail pressure climbs past 8,000 psi. The 793 fires on the second crank. The mine foreman radios in that the haul cycle is back, and the night shift gets paid. The next call routes you 40 miles north to a Schneider Cascadia at Terminal 847,291 in Gary, Indiana. Door stencil orange, fleet number stenciled clean. SPN 5246. Final inducement, 5 mph D rate. The driver is past the warning windows and into the hard wall. You hook up the Toughbook, walk through the Detroit Forest regen sequence on DDDL, swap a clogged dosing injector, and clear the active fault list. The truck rolls out of the terminal at full speed. The driver tips you a thermos of bad coffee and means it. You're factory trained on Cummins X15, Detroit DD15, Cat C32 ACERT, and Packer MX13, and the Cummins Master Tech card is on the dash. The base wage off Glassdoor reads $70,461. With per diem and the OT line, field service OT, 1.5x, 12.5 hours, the W-2 lands between $90,000 and $140,000. The truck is your shop. Nobody watches you work. The 5 a.m. alarm doesn't wake you anymore. You wake before it, and the rig is already loaded. The dispatcher calls at 3 with a Komatsu PC8000 down at Morenci. You take the call. The foreman job at the Sioux Falls shop opens the same week. You take that one too. Level 5. The shop foreman. You're 38 at a 14-bay heavy-duty shop, fluorescent buzz on at 5:30 a.m. The BLS first-line supervisor median reads $82,260 a year, $39.55 an hour. Your number runs higher. The Decisiv queue on the wall monitor shows 23 open repair orders, 4 comebacks, 2 warranty pre-auths waiting on QSOL, and a Trimble TMT labor guide reconciliation flagged for review. You work the queue the way the floor expects. Comebacks first, warranty second, road call returns third, PMs last. The DD15 in base 7 is an in-frame. Liners pulled, deck cleaned, dial indicator on the block reading liner protrusion at 0.004 inches. 3 to 6 thou is the spec. It holds. You sign the ticket and route it to QSOL for warranty pre-auth before the parts go in. A young tech in Bay 9 is working an ISX15 head torque on his first solo job. He sets 50, then 250, then starts the protractor pull. He hesitates at bolt 11. You walk past, don't stop, and tap the spec sheet on the way by. He finishes the pull. The bolt holds. You don't mention it again. The TMC SuperTech registration packet sits on your desk. Doug Nichols took back-to-back Grand Champion at Raleigh in 2023 and 2024, and your shop sent 2 finalists last year. The trophy case in the customer lounge has the runner-up plaque already. By 11 a.m., you've cleared 14 ROs, signed off on a $6,500 warranty recovery, and rejected 1 comeback that came back for the same SPN code twice. You stop saving the pay stubs. The owner of a 4-bay independent in town offers to sell you the building. Full bay benchmarks put a mid-size 6-bay heavy-duty independent at $900,000 revenue and 15% net. You pass. The Class 1 carrier recruiter who's been emailing for 6 months calls back. Director of Maintenance, Region 3. The interview is on a Tuesday in Green Bay. Level 6. The Director. You're 47 at a Schneider terminal outside Green Bay, 200 idling tractors visible through the glass behind your desk. Your title reads, Director of Fleet Maintenance, Region 3. The Salary.com median for the role is 102,404. The Glassdoor 90th percentile reads 210,504, and the band on your offer letter sits inside it. The Decisiv SRM Enterprise dashboard on the wall pulls VMRS code keys 31 through 33 across 12,500 tractors. The CPM maintenance line reads 0.187 against a 0.182 budget, 5 mils over, and at fleet scale, the variance is real money. You walk the board prep slide back to the lane data. 3 terminals are running hot on regen-related rework. You route a Detroit Connect tech line escalation to Dan Simons's group, and by Friday, the SPN 3251 returns drop 18% in the affected lanes. The annual maintenance budget cycle starts in October. You spec the next 200-unit X15 trade cycle through procurement, walk it through Greer Woodruff's office on the way to the executive review, and sign the order on the floor of the Mid-America Trucking Show in Louisville. The conference badge on the lanyard reads the same name as the one you wore in row 47 at TMC 7 years ago, different weight. The 10K filing for the fiscal year carries 1 line that maps to your desk, operating supplies and expenses. Net, $636.5 million. You don't celebrate it. You sign the trade cycle papers, hand them off, and walk back to the booth where the Cummins reps have a hot stand running an X15 on a dyno. The plug on the side of the dyno cabinet is a champion. You don't check the gap. You don't have to. The final beat. The trade only ever asked you to do one thing. Read the symptom. Isolate the cause. Replace the part. Verify the fix. The fouled plug at 16 became an $1,800 set of 6 X15 injectors. At 31, became a 200-unit X15 order at 47, and the act underneath did not change. The dollar stakes did. IT arranged by I says 65.5% of shops are understaffed, 19.3% of bays sit empty, and 44% of the techs in them are thinking about leaving. You stayed. Most of the people who started in Earl's Barn with you didn't, and you don't blame them. The climb is honest about what it costs. The 5 a.m. alarms add up. The knee never came all the way back. You took the call in Gillette at 5 degrees because somebody had to, and the somebody was you. You take it again. The champion arranged by J19 from Earl's Barn sits on the corner of your desk now, in a small glass case the shop in Sioux Falls sent when you took the Schneider job. The gap is still 30 thou. The box still reads $4.59. The line item on the 10K behind it reads $636.5 million. The director who signs the operating supplies budget at a Class 1 carrier can still gap a plug, and on the right Saturday he does in a barn outside Lancaster, with a kid he hasn't met yet kneeling on the same cracked concrete. The mower won't start. You hand him the plug and the feeler gauge, and you don't say anything. He sets it by feel. The cord pulls hard the first time. The second pull catches. The third pull, the Briggs coughs, settles, and idles, and the keys to the shop are on the hook by the door. And they're yours.